Bang, we're off. Okay. Hi, Jodie, how are you?
Hi, Patrick. I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Okay, so we've talked earlier about what the point of this podcast, not podcast, recording is. So it's sort of to create a record of people that are tattooing in Pembrokeshire over this period, whether it's lockdown or 2021. So I've started with Matt Price, and you are Jodie Jenkins, currently working at Sursum Tattoo in Narberth. And just to give a quick sort of warm up for yourself and introduce you to people who may not know you, I've got a couple of silly questions. The first one being, as a child, what was your favourite sweet?
I have loads. Probably like those rainbow belt things. I actively hated the the like foam bananas and the shrimps. They were my ultimate.
They got that really odd sort of dry texture, haven't they?
Yeah, it's just even now I just think I don't nah.
Right, not your boat. But you mean like the rainbow laces sort of things, or
but they're like really sour ones.
Okay, and they're thin, long and thin.
They're like a belt thing. They're like five.
Yeah.
Together, yeah.
Like little 10p chews sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I know the ones. My little boy gets them, and they are like sour, and they've got that really sharp sort of like zingy sort of taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Next one, as much detail as you like, or as little. Have you ever had a holiday romance?
Yes, but just in case my mum and dad watch this, we'll just leave it.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one then. Let's see. What was it? Oh yeah. Are you whole, or have you had anything removed from you?
Like emotionally or physically?
I was going to say physically, but if there's something you'd like to disclose, then I'm all ears.
Other than teeth, no, not everything's there. Yeah,
everything's as nature intended. As wicked. That's good to hear. Anyway, there you go. I've had a few things removed, but or was it just the one? Anyway, never mind. We don't need to go into that. Okay, so you're at Sursum Tattoo. You work alongside me. We're in the small room at the top. So, as an introduction, how long have you been tattooing?
I've been tattooing. It'll be coming up to just 2 years now. I started in a studio in Carmarthen, and then moved to you guys in October last year. So I've only been with you guys for a few months, but feels like forever.
So you did your apprenticeship at, it's a Hidden Jewel, isn't it, in Carmarthen?
Yes, yeah.
And who was it that you were? Who did you apprentice under, or?
I apprenticed actually under 2 people, but there was 5 of us at the studio for the time that I was there, and it was actually mainly women, and there was one guy and 4 female artists, which was quite nice.
Okay, wow, that's quite different, isn't it? Well, I mean, we're like 50-50 in Sursum, 2 male and 2 female, but so at Hidden Jewel it was what, 4 women and 1 male.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so that's your experience of a tattoo studio would be more equal, possibly, than many, I suppose, more other people's experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think because a couple of the girls that I worked with had their apprenticeships in other places and then moved to Carmarthen after that. I think from hearing from them, it could have been very different. So I was quite lucky to have such like a female influence, and
Yeah.
it was quite nice to, because you always hear about it being a heavily male industry. So yeah, there was at no point was I like, oh, I don't feel like I should be here, or it was
Right. Yeah.
it was start.
And the you also hear, I mean, I'm different from yourself in that I pretty much self-taught. You've had an actual apprenticeship. You do hear of some apprenticeships being quite hard work, not only in the amount of learning, but you sort of hear some horror stories, not horror stories, but things about scrubbing toilets and continually making cups of tea. Is that something that you sort of is that something that you experienced, or not really?
No, not really. I mean, I was kind of in the mindset that like I wanted the job so much that like I probably would have just done whatever they asked anyway. But they were really good about being like, everything that we do is going to be geared towards teaching you something. So even if it was like just cleaning people's like stations and stuff after that they'd been tattooing, it was all like helping me learn about like hygiene, not cross-contaminating. So everything that I did had some sort of link to tattooing or things I needed to know anyway. So yeah, I was lucky in that sense. I think the hardest bit is probably like financially, because I went into it a little bit older than like some people like would have started. So in the sense of I had some financial responsibilities at that point, and as an apprentice, when you first start, you're not earning any money. It's full time, and so from that point of view, it was kind of tough for a bit, but it was something that I knew you just had to make a sacrifice, and it would pay off in the end of it.
So how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 25.
Okay, so you started what, about 23, 24?
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's not late to start to it, but I think by that point most people have either rent and stuff to pay for, and they can't rely on your mum and dad for stuff. Whereas if you started when you were 18, you've got a bit of that security.
Yeah, and you were travelling from Saundersfoot, or?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And so there's sort of cost involved in that, isn't there? It's not, I mean, Carmarthen's not miles away, but it's it's a train ticket, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that they were good about that as well, and I think because most of them lived and worked in Carmarthen, they knew that the circumstances were a little bit different for me, and they were really understanding that. So yeah, all in all, like I was very lucky with how that started, and they definitely had like the best interest of being like, right, you're here to learn to do a job, you're not here to just do stuff that you do. So
it sounds like you had a really good sort of experience, you know what I mean, with like people looking after you and educating you, and from what and all your work is of a really high quality, and so obviously that's had a beneficial input into your ability as an artist. So it sounds like you sort of had a really good experience there. I wonder whether that is because it was a more female sort of environment, or who knows? You'll never know, will you? Because it's like someone else's experience could be totally different, regardless of gender. But
yeah, I think as well, like as far as studios go, especially around here, like that's quite a lot of artists to have in one environment. And I think regardless of if they're male or female, the more people that you have to learn off and to watch, like just more things you pick up. So that obviously would have been like super helpful as well, because however much one artist might be really great at what they do, they only know what they know, and so if they're not doing it themselves, you're not gonna learn that from them.
No. So you said you came into this the profession. You got an apprenticeship at the age of 23. You've been to university beforehand?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I went to university in Bristol, and I actually did English literature, so it was nothing related to art. But even
Right.
then, I think every bit of spare time I had, I was drawing. And like my housemate, I remember was just being like, "You should probably do your assignments," and I was like, "No, it's fine." I'm
Right.
just
Okay. So did you
drawing.
do like GCSE and A-level art, or and
Uh,
foundation, or all that sort of stuff?
no.
No. Okay.
I did very, very badly in art in school. I didn't really understand it as a subject, and I think, yeah, I knew what I wanted to do, but it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily what aligned with the curriculum at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I just didn't really get my head around that, and I think because I was always under the impression that you needed like formal qualifications for most jobs. I kind of put it on the back burner a little bit after school, because I just thought, oh, well, if I can't pass art, it's just not for me, probably.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up doing English, because I was just like, oh, well, that's the only thing that I have a decent A level in. I must
Okay.
be supposed to go down that route. But yeah,
Yeah.
off my own back, I was like, oh, no, I know that I want to be able to draw for a living. At that point, I didn't really mind what it was doing, but I was like, I've got to find a way to make that work. So off my own back, I was like, I'm going to go and see if I can get an apprenticeship. It took a couple of years of constant pestering and being like, oh,
Okay.
please.
How many shops did you sort of go into? Did you keep a tally, or?
No, I only went into a couple, but then when I discovered Hidden Jewel, I think something just clicked, and I was like, I want to work here. So it was just me pestering them for a long time, and then
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the interim, I moved to the US, because I was like, oh, that's logical. That's what people do. And then it was actually I just landed back in the UK after like living over there, and I had a phone call off one of the owners of the shop being like, well, an apprenticeship's become available if you still want it. And it was
Yeah.
just really, really good timing. So
Nice one.
yeah.
So whereabouts in the US did you live then?
I lived in the Midwest in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did a little bit of California and Colorado on the way, but yeah, most of my time was spent in the Midwest.
So what time of year were you in Minnesota?
Do you know what? I saw a summer and a winter, which was eye-opening, because they just crack on regardless of the weather, and it was like -20, just absolute like maybe like 4 foot of snow, and they'll be like, yeah, we'll still go to work. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's where all the Scandinavians sort of ended up, isn't it? All the Vikings sort of ended up in Minnesota. And it does sound like an absolutely amazing place. And you ended up going to Colorado as well. Were you sort of working, or was that just?
No, that was just for a social. I just spent a lot of time in the mountains skiing.
Nice. Cool. Right. Okay. So back on track now. I mean, you said, so are there any sort of, can you see any connection between literature and tattoo? Sorry.
Maybe like indirectly, but I remember I did my dissertation actually on like illustrations in children's books, and how they changed from, so take Peter Pan for example, like about how if his initial like illustrations changed from like what they are now and stuff. And I think through a lot of that, it did teach me a lot about like illustration techniques stuff, but I don't know if that's directly linked to literature. Because in my head I was just like, well, I would rather be doing art, so I'm just going to find anything I can
to do with it.
Drawing.
Because I was sort of thinking about like within tattoo, we're quite often asked to portray some sort of, if say in the case of a memorial or something like that, and there's a definite narrative there, isn't there? You know, someone's passed away, and there are themes within popular themes for tattoo. You know, sort of people dying, passing on. Say, for instance, overcoming obstacles. I don't know. Say addiction, pain, loss, heartbreak, all those sort of things. So again, those are themes within literature, but you've not sort of ever sort of thought, oh, this is I don't know, like a character or a theme within literature that you have found that you've wanted or been asked to sort of apply to skin?
Not yet. I mean, I would like to. I would be interested in that, but I think that's still like, it's quite, considering like the kind of stuff that we were studying, is quite like a niche thing, and I just don't know if there's a massive market for that. But
right, yeah. So what was it that you were studying? What was your
so
sort of
we had 4
Peter Pan?
modules. So we had 4 modules that was like we had Gothic literature, like Victorian. There was children's literature. I can't remember what the 4th one was, but it was a lot of like like Paradise Lost, all of that, like epic poem stuff, which was intense. But I just But then again, like there's a lot of people go down like themed routes of like heaven and hell or whatever, and I guess like that kind of loosely ties to that. But
there's nothing sort of springs to mind. No. There you go. No. The other thing, so as mentioned, like this idea of difference, and there's genders, one difference. There's the artistic background is another, and the other one that suddenly struck me the other day is age.
Right.
As it is now, you're tattooing with me. I'm 46 years old. Well, you like 25, you're 20 years younger than me. Matt's what, mid-30s? I don't know. Early 30s?
We'll say early just to be the safe side.
yeah. Don't want to upset anyone. And then how was that what was that like in Hidden Jewel? What sort of age were people there? Was it quite a young crowd or?
So at the time there was only one girl younger than me. She was 21. And then one of the girls was 27, and then the 2 owners were both 30 at the time. So
right, okay. So within 10 years, that's not. And did you notice, say for instance, within we all sort of have our own if you like favorite theme or favorite subject matter. And like, I would like to sort of go down this road, or I would like to go down that road. Did you notice there were certain things that you just were thinking, I ain't doing that because that is like so 40-year-old man, or so, you know what I mean? It's like that subject matter, that style of tattooing is definitely not for me because it like represents the other or something like that.
There's definitely things that I'd noticed that were style-wise or maybe like petering out and less people were getting, which I think was for the best, because like things move on and things like styles progress, and I think it's not that there's necessarily stuff that I wouldn't do. But I think when someone's asking for something and you're there being like, oh, this could be so much better if we just have like a little bit of a back and forth, and like that there's potential for them to have a piece of work that's a lot better than their expectations, but they're quite stubborn about it. That's the only time where I'm like not super stoked to do it. But I think a lot of the apprenticeship as well was me knowing my limits, and there were things that I wanted to take on, but I knew that I just wasn't at that stage where I felt comfortable to give someone the best result. And obviously like there was one artist there, she'd been tattooing for like 10 years at that point that I started. So if I knew that it was her thing, you're like, yeah, just go to her, because
right, okay. Yeah, so is there, I don't know, as a youngster, you sort of, you're probably following different people on Instagram than I am following, and as a female as well. So what's can you give me an example of one of your sort of your favorite female artist right now that you're following on Instagram?
There is a lady called, I think she's called Jen Tonic on Instagram. But I found that a lot of the female artists that I follow are like German or Russian, and I don't know if that's anything to do with like work ethic or styles or whatever, but it's never been like intentional, but that just seems to be the neck of that they're from. But a lot of it's like, it's strange because it's not the stuff that I would do. So a lot of it is like bright coloured, neo-traditional things, and I love it, but it's not like my style necessarily.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I found I started following a load of like hand poke artists, because obviously that's one of the things that I do, and I sort of found myself, maybe it's the algorithm, like, hang about, why am I, there's a load of like Canadian like hand poke artists, and they're all like, there's some of them are really, really good, but the fact that I ended up following one, and then you follow the other, and then the other one, and it's like you say, they all happen to be from Canada, and yeah, it is weird how that happens. And even though sometimes you can see something and you think, yeah, that is really good and I appreciate that, it's not necessarily A, what you're being asked to do, or C, anything B, and like what you do. It's just, you know, sort of what floats your boat, what stimulates you visually. So yeah, okay. So and have you been tattooed by a mixture of male and female artists, or predominantly female or predominantly male?
It's been a mixture of both, really. I've only been tattooed by female artists like in the UK, but I've had a couple of tattoos, you know, outside of the UK that have all been like male, not just by coincidence. It wasn't like a choice, but yeah.
It's not like you wouldn't sort of, so just sort of, because I've only been tattooed by two women, and it's just sort of happened that way. But yeah, it's not like a sort of, it's never been like a conscious sort of decision to, I'm going to be tattooed by a male. It's just, you know, oh, he does good work, I like his work, and so, you know, sort of, yeah, you end up sort of having work. And so do you consider yourself as a tattooer foremost, or you know, is the fact that you're female relevant at all, or not really relevant to your work?
I don't think so. Well, I find with like colleagues, it's kind of irrelevant. Like, it's the first kind of job that I've been in for a long time where I feel like people think that I have something to say that's worth hearing, and that's really and it's nice, especially like, you know, at Sursum, is everybody values everyone's experience and their like personal areas of expertise, and people ask each other questions, and it's never competition, it's just interest and being like, well, how did you do that? I'd love to know what this is, blah blah blah. And in that sense, the fact that you're female or male doesn't really come up at all, and that's really nice. But the only time that I've ever noticed it is when clients specifically ask for a woman. That's happened a couple of times where when I was in the other place, people would ring up and be like, oh, I don't mind who tattoos me, but I'd like it to be a woman. And but yeah, it's just been a client's preference really, and I'm still not sure what that is. It's usually women that would want to be tattooed by a woman. And
yeah, fair enough. Let's see, you left Hidden Jewel, and another of your friends left at about the same time, and she is, what's she called? Give it a shout out to.
Oh, Chessie Fury.
Chessie Fury, and she can be followed at Instagram on what is it, at Chessie Fury?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's just Chessie Fury on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, so you two got on really well together in Carmarthen, or?
Yeah, we really did. I mean, like at the time, technically, she was my boss, but it never really felt like that. And I think she was the first person that, like, it kind of scared me, but she was just like, oh, you know, you kind of just have to do it and see how things turn out. And I was like, oh, but I'm not ready for this, or like, what if this happens? And she was like, yeah, but you don't know, just do it.
Right, yeah.
And she had like every faith in me from the start, and she was super helpful. And yeah, at the time as well, she'd had a different experience with not doing art in school, and she ended up doing like a film degree, and you can see that in a lot of her work as well, because she loves comic book stuff, she loves film, like art, and so it's quite nice to have somebody that has interest outside of tattooing that is mutual. And yeah, and she's obviously, she's working with Gareth now, but she's super happy down there, and yes,
no, it's good.
She's doing really good.
That's Gareth Davis at Gareth Davis Tattoo Art, Carmarthen. I'd love to chat with Gareth, actually. I did a few sort of guest spots, like guest days at his, but he's got a little one now, hasn't he? And so it's just, and hey, we're in lockdown, so nothing's going to happen particularly quickly. But yeah, no, Gareth's a very very talented artist and a lovely bloke as well. I imagine it's quite easy to sort of get on with. Yeah, have you been to his shop in Carmarthen?
I have, yeah. His paintings are incredible. I remember seeing them and I don't know how many hours of work must have gone into those, but I just like look at his work and I'm like, whoa, that you're insane.
Yeah. He's got he's got quite a few sort of movie like, you know, things taken from movies and stuff like that. But he had one gigantic mask piece, and it was like, I think it was like a Balinese barong sort of like god thing, and it had like tusks and like big googly eyes and like its tongue stuck out or whatever, and it's in the corner of his studio, and it looks absolutely amazing. And yeah, like you say, how many hours sort of went into that? I've no idea. I'm assuming it's oils, but I don't paint oils, so I've no idea how you'd start that. I don't know. So he's yeah, it's good. Nice one. I'm glad she's happy there and sort of knocking out great work as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she really is. She's I've never seen someone work as hard as she does. She was just all the time. I was like, oh, I need to be doing more, because she was just constantly like go, and everything that she produced was just really, really good work. So I think it's nice to have that push, because if you're surrounded by people that are not bothered, then you're going to just develop that, aren't you? But I was always around people who were putting in the hours, who were always trying to improve, that wanted to develop a style, or at least, you know, explore a bit more, so that they had a specialized area. And it was just, yeah, it was nice to have that.
Nice one. Oh, that's really good. And so let's see, it's February the 1st today, and hopefully we're going to come out of our current lockdown situation within a not too distant future. Obviously, there's going to be a whole load of people sort of knocking on your door to get tattooed by you. And that's going to probably be first for a lot of people, earning money. But after that, have you any plans for, you know, the one thing, holidays? Have you been sort of like thinking, I've got to get out of here?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't even mind where it is. I just need to go somewhere.
Yeah, just like a wet field somewhere in North Wales would be ideal, wouldn't it?
But yeah, it all depends on like the time of year that happens as well, that they say, right, you can go off and
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And is that some, obviously, is that something you'd sort of like to do in conjunction with tattooing? It's, you know, one of the things that I've always thought, oh man, it would be so cool to actually travel and tattoo. Obviously it's not happened for various reasons, but is that something that, you know, do you have, say for instance, connections in the US that you'd be able to sort of take advantage of and, you know, sort of tattoo out there? Is that something, yeah, is that something that floats your boat, or not necessarily?
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea of doing like guest spots and stuff, even when I first started, was something that I wanted to aim towards. And I just love the thought of being able to work with as many people as I possibly can, because they've always got something valuable to offer advice wise, or just watching them work. And you know, different countries are obviously going to work different as well. Like how tattoo studios run in the US might not be how we do things here, and that's interesting to see how that would work as well. There's a couple possibly like lined up in the UK that I would maybe do first, just to kind of experience what it's like, but not too far away. And then I would like to perhaps go out to the US and see what that's like as well.
Yeah. So what are the studios in the, have you got sort of studios and contacts in mind in the UK that you would like go on there? Who are they then?
There is a studio in Oxford called the Fat Rabbit.
Okay.
That, and we kind of talked about doing a guest spot, and then, you know, COVID kicked off and that's not happened yet. But when we're allowed to move around again, I'd like to do that.
So who's your contact there then? How do you know? Is it somewhere you've had work done, or?
No, it is actually just been through social media. His name is Johnny Saunders. And he bought some like skateboard art from me, like I don't know how, it was sometime last year,
right?
And we kind of kept in contact through that, and we did like, you know, an art exchange where he would draw me stuff and then I'd draw him things. And it was through that I just kind of like got chatting to him about guest spots and stuff. And yeah, I think it'd be interesting to go and do that when the time comes.
Yeah. So you mentioned he bought a skateboard, illustrated skateboard off you. Is that have you got a quick example of that now, or?
Yeah, I've got.
Can you grab one?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. That'd be awesome.
So I have like these two that.
Okay. Got you. Nice
but
one.
Yeah, they're actually like really fun to do. It's something that I did as a one-off initially, that I didn't really know if there was going to be much interest in it, but I just got to a point where like I was bored of paper, so I was like, what else can I paint on that's fun and something to be interested in? And then it's kind of just taken off, and I've done like probably over like 20 or 30 in the last year, which has been quite fun.
And then you just selling them through like contacts on Instagram or whatever, you just, you know, people direct messaging you and whatever.
Yeah.
Nice. That's all right, isn't it? And they're easy to get, relatively easy to get sent through the post as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
easier than a surfboard.
Shots up, but yeah, I think a lot of them, like if it's local, then I'll try my best to just like drop them around myself, because they're like super expensive now. And when Trix was saying about sending things off the other day, I almost had a heart attack by how much she paid for postage. I was like, oh my gosh.
What was she sending?
She was sending like a A2 or A1 prints or something like that, and I think her prints came to like £55 or something.
Yeah. A1 is crazy, isn't it? It's like it's almost like I could drive there. You know what I mean? Sort of deliver it myself. You know, if you got 2 or 3 of them, make a day of it. You know. Yeah, no, it's crackers. I know that's something I sort of ran into, and yeah, big artwork is it's great fun to do, and it's very satisfying to see it. But you know, sort of passing it on to someone else is hard. But there you go. Wicked. Okay, no, I think we're more or less done. If you any shout outs to anyone you'd like to do before, say, Tatar, or
no, I don't think so.
okay. Right, okay, so the last time I ended when I was talking to Matt, I sort of said, okay, can you suggest someone that who I should interview next? So I'll throw the same thing to yourself. Who would be a good person to make contact with? I may or may not do it.
Okay, I think seeing as we've like mentioned her, I think Chessie would be a really good one to. She's had an interesting experience over the last 10, 11 years. So yeah, she'd be interesting to talk to.
Has she got some good stories to tell?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, no. All right. Okay. Well, thanks ever so much, Jodie. Really enjoyed it, and it's good. It's good to see another human face, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah. So I can press a stop button somewhere. But I'll say I'll say ta-ta, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Yeah, speak to you soon. Okay, no, take it easy. Bye. Bye.